right, good morning, everybody. Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome back, right? Welcome back. Today is Wednesday, the 16th of March, 2022, and I'm Darkside Phil, and I welcome you here to a brand new week of streaming. Normally I would come back on Tuesday, but as you know, my day off this week was actually on Tuesday, so I couldn't come back on a Tuesday when I was off on a Tuesday, or at least that would be a pretty weird comeback to have the day off, but then still be streaming on that day with a cat jumping behind me, licking my hair, stealing the show. So, if you can't tell, Jasper Kitty's in the office today, and welcome to join us whenever he would like, right, buddy? Right, Jasper? He seems pretty happy. He had a treat this morning. We get him these different kinds of treats. One of the ones that he has, it's called a broth. So what it is a clear liquid, like a soup, that contains pieces of fish and all kinds of stuff in it. And he loves that. He licks all the broth, and every once in a while he'll actually eat a piece of fish. Usually just drinks all the broth. So even though he's very cute, he smells like fish today. But anyway, how you guys doing? Welcome back. How you doing? I hope that you guys are all having a good time. And you are ready for another week of streams. First of all, yesterday being my day off, I hope you all had a safe and fun day, no matter what it was that you did. I don't know, obviously, what all you guys do when I'm not here. I only know what you're doing when I'm here, right? When I'm not here, you guys, I don't know, you could be curing cancer, right? Pretty awesome. You could be, solving the problems of world hunger. Or you could be watching my crappy videos here on YouTube. I don't know what you do, right? If you watch my videos, thanks. Thanks for watching everything. And for those of you who have been keeping the engagement alive with likes and comments, thank you very much. There were some people who did that because I actually personally approved many comments during the time that I had on my day off. So thank you very, very much for that. All right. So another week awaits us right here on YouTube. And I'm excited. We're going to have much more progression in Elden Ring this week as it remains the main focused game for me. And we'll talk a little bit about the schedule in just a moment, about how, yes, there's another week with another new release that I'm not playing, for very good reason this time around, actually. Then we'll talk about everything else. I'll talk about my day off that I had. I'll talk about burps. Excuse me. If you can't tell, I had a little bit of seltzer water before I started my pre-stream, and here I am exploding already. We'll talk about all kinds of stuff here on the pre-stream podcast. But this should be another full at least 6 days of streaming. From what we're to understand, my wife should be having either Monday, Tuesday, or both off next week, which means likely my day off will be Tuesday again of next week, which means I should be able to stream for 6 straight days. I really wish I could have a set schedule for you guys, because as you guys know, I am the kind of content creator that likes stability. I like saying, here's my plan for the week, lay it out. And even though many times we change that plan on the fly, which is perfectly fine, it's part of being a variety content creator. At least I like telling you exactly when I'm going to be here. And as you know, last week was kind of chaotic because I did not know that I was going to be on a day off on Tuesday instead of Monday until like the last minute. And now here we are starting a fresh week, and I still don't know. I can only assume. Because this is what happens with retail, is that a lot of the times you don't get information ahead of time, despite the fact that you should. I mean, just because you work a retail job does not mean that you don't have a life, that you don't need to plan for that life. Like, what if you have to make an appointment that's important? Or, what if you want a particular day off to plan something? Or what if your husband just wants to know when his next day off is for his work? Nope, not allowed. You're in retail, so apparently your whole life is supposed to be dictated by this job, right? Oh, yeah. And the thing is, I've been there, I've done that. I worked many retail jobs that are exactly the same. They're not exactly the height of professionalism when it comes to this kind of stuff. So it is what it is. The good news is I'm definitely here over the weekend. Like, I'm here all this week over the weekend. I don't know if Monday or Tuesday is my day off, but I'm going to assume it's Tuesday. And then if something changes during the course of the week, I will let you guys know. Okay? So, yes, I do respond, Everyday Gamer. But when I'm in the middle of talking about something on the pre-stream podcast, I don't. He's like, does Phil ever respond to what we're talking about? Yes, I do. Indeed, I do. I am really here live. This is not a recording. Although, admittedly, That entire handle of tequila that I drank last night, as I told you guys the other day, every night I drink a giant handle of tequila, worm and all. Oh, it's hitting me real hard this morning. Man. I'm feeling very green. You know, geez. I have so much agave in me, I might very well be a cactus this morning. Okay? Anyway. So let's talk. Let's talk about this week, what you guys can expect. Let's talk a little bit about how everything's been going. And go from there. The sun is in and out of the clouds today, which is kind of weird because it looks fully cloudy outside, but then the sun came out. I don't know. It's like partial cloudy out there. I'll leave the window open for now. But if I need to put the blinds down because it's blinding me or, you know, hindering the camera, then we'll do that. So, let's talk, okay? Today is Wednesday, and this week, my major focus is Elden Ring. What a shocking surprise. At this point in the playthrough, just to give you guys some perspective, okay? I am 44 hours into Elden Ring. Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot of hours to be into Elden Ring. And at this point, I've completed all of Limgrave, meaning I completed every area of Limgrave, all the optional stuff that was available. It's all done. I also completed all of Liurnia. Now, there may have been an odd or an end here that I missed in Liurnia, but for the most part, effectively beating the 2 major dungeons there, beating most of the side content and dungeons there. We basically are good to go for full exploration of the rest of the game. And I have options, right? I can go to Caelid, which I unlocked way earlier, way earlier in the game. And it was because I teleported there via a chest. So we could check that out if we want. It was very dangerous when I was there, but I was there much earlier in the game. I've since teleported back, and at the very tail end of the last stream, I went to the original cave I teleported to, and I was killing everything there. The enemies are still annoying, don't get me wrong, but I was able to kill everything there now with my current build and leveling. So I definitely could check that out. Or we could go crazy, and we could go to the northern plateau. I think it's called the Atlas Plateau, which is the area past the gates that you're not supposed to be able to go through yet, but I found a way through. Or we go to Volcano Manor. I found a teleportation spot to Volcano Manor, and we were there, and we could keep going there. We do crazy stuff, whatever we want. And that's kind of the cool open world nature of this game, is that you can kind of just do it in whatever order you want. Of course, if you end up doing a further area first, then you end up backtracking to get the stuff you missed, and then the backtracking kind of sucks. I can personally attest to that, because that's what happened with me with Limgrave, okay? I ended up going to the castle before I did southern or eastern Limgrave. So I beat the castle. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, what do I do now? And everyone's yelling at me like, oh, you missed all the content. I'm like, but you guys told me to go to the castle. You said that was what was next. No, it was wrong. You were supposed to do southern and eastern Limgrave first. So when I went back to do them, I was, you know, pretty much one-shotting everything easily. And I think that's kind of both one of the good things and bad things about this game. It's kind of a double-edged sword with Elden Ring, is if you actually know the order of progression that the game kind of intends you to use, then the game is a lot of fun. But if you don't, and you happen to wander into a wrong area, you can either get completely trounced into paste, or if you happen to be good and you actually make progress in the wrong area, now it's kind of boring to go back to the areas you're too good for. You know what I'm saying? Definitely, it's like, you know, that I'll be honest. Yes, doing southern and eastern Limgrave, except for the well, because the well was kind of interesting in eastern Limgrave. Was the underground dungeon that was probably on par with what I was supposed to be doing. But everything else was just so easy because I was supposed to do that as the first part of the game, and I didn't know that. So you know, I'm looking at the game and I'm like, well, what should I do next? Well, if I do Caelid, likely that's going to be more my level. If you look at the map, you got Limgrave, then you got Liurnia, then you got Caelid. They're all southern parts of the map, making me feel like that's the order that they kind of want you to play it. And then everything else is moving further north, making me think that north is harder, north is the natural progression of the game. Now, here's the thing. If you have already played the game, okay, and now you're trying to do a second or third run, and you kind of know what you're going for. Like, oh, I'm going for a sorcery build, so I need this item, and this item, and I definitely don't need all these other items / weapons that I'm never going to use. Now that you've played the game once and you kind of understand the order of progression, I hear for speedrunners, I could definitely see people like jumping on a horse and say, fuck all the fighting. go to this church, got the sacred tear. Go to this church, got the sacred tear. Grab a golden seed, grab a golden seed, grab a golden seed. Go to the castle. Done. Keep going. Now go to the academy. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you know exactly what to do for what you're trying to do because you've already played it, I can definitely see the open world nature of the game actually being kind of a way to turbo through it. So I kind of understand what they're going for. If it's your first run, explore everything, tons of content. Wow, discovery, really cool. Second run, you've seen everything, so now just go to the areas you need to go. In fact, I was saying this to Kat last night because we were actually watching someone play the game again. Now, they were in Limgrave still, so it's not like they're spoiling the game for me or whatever. And I was like, you know, now that I'm kind of thinking about this game a little more, isn't it funny that almost every critical item in the game is not in a dungeon, right? The sacred tears are just out in open world churches. The golden seeds, for the most part, there are a few that are optional from like boss fights, but for the most part, the golden seeds are just right there in the open world, under a golden tree, and they're all over the world. You can easily see them when you're riding through the world. You can see the golden trees; they glow. So obviously, it's intended that you can run through the game grabbing the critical items and never having to fight. Like, it's actually intended that way. So that being said, I'm definitely interested in how they set this game up and checking out areas that maybe I'm not supposed to be in yet, because that kind of is fun. But at the same time, I'm almost worried. Like, let's say, for example, today I say, you know what, fuck it. Let's go to Volcano Manor. I've got a teleportation spot there. We already have a way you can keep going in the dungeon or whatever. Let's just do it. What if I go there and I succeed, right? And I get some cool items and I level and I start beating the whole thing. And it's like, okay, time to go back to Caelid. Oh, well, everything's a one-shot now because, you know, you went to Volcano Manor first. That's a little disappointing. I think that might actually be considered a shortcoming of the game. Is it truly open world if you're doing it in an order that basically some of it now is way under what you're at? You know what I'm saying? Like, I almost feel like there should be a suggested progression guide in the game, which there is none. That's definitely, I think, a shortcoming. The game doesn't really tell you, oh, it makes more sense for you to do this, then this, then this, then this. Instead, it's just like, well, do whatever you want. We'll point a little bit from the sites of grace towards where maybe some suggested areas are, but for the most part, you know, you're on your own. So I'm relying on people giving me feedback as I play the game. Oh, you should go to Caelid next. Definitely in the logical progression of the game, that's the next area you should go. Okay, cool. I'll do that, right? So that's kind of what I'm thinking. At the same time, already, I'm being told, oh, you missed stuff. Like, I got an email from someone, and they're like, you would never know this, but there's optional boss fights that appear randomly at certain times. You've already seen some of them. For example, the bell bearer bosses, right? The ones that only appear at night at certain fast travel points, and he shows up and you fight him, and then you give it a bell to get more items from the vendor. Well, apparently there's more bosses like that in set parts of the map that you got to investigate. Now, I've been to these parts, but never happened to run into the random boss encounters. So I'm being told, hey, why don't you do that today? Something different. Look for the random boss encounters and see what happens. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe we'll do that first. Or I think what I really should do is I should finish the cave that I'm in. I'm currently in this mining cave. This is the Crystal Caverns mine that you get teleported to in Caelid for the first time via a treasure chest warp. And I've gotten to the end of it. I got to the boss, but by the time I got to the boss and exploring, I had 0 health. I had like 1 flask. I was like, how am I going to beat this boss with 1 flask? I didn't. It killed me. So, okay, now I kind of know what to do. I can maybe turbo through this dungeon, get to the boss, and just fight it. And if I beat the boss, now maybe what we'll do is go look for some of these optional boss encounters, and then maybe we'll go back to Caelid and explore it in a more open world fashion. Excuse me. Although, I am debating how to go about that, because I do have teleportations that go inside of Caelid itself, because I've already rode around there exploring very early in the game, probably before I should have even been there. Or I could go to the actual entrance of Caelid, which we've actually found. It's from Limgrave. You just follow the road, and you end up right there in Caelid. So, I don't know. We'll see. The good news is it doesn't really matter. I can do whatever I want, right? I could literally do it however I want. That's a cool thing, is that the game gives you that option to tackle obstacles however you want. You don't have to go a set way to do it. Is there definitely a better or a worse way to do it? Probably. But being that this is my first playthrough and, you know, I haven't spoiled myself, likely I'm going to do things that are less than optimal. Let's put it that way, okay? let's see what happens. All right, let's have some fun today. Starting up, let's have an actual fun session of exploration and fun in Caelid, I guess, and then elsewhere, whatever we end up doing. Okay, awesome. So good session coming up today. I'm excited. I hope that you guys are excited too. Okay. Tonight, the late stream, 6:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because that's right, our clocks changed over the weekend. It is time for some chill Skyrim After Dark. Continuing on with the Skyrim playthrough. Last time around, we focused on doing a lot of optional quest progress. There was tons of quests that we had kind of open and lingering that had never been finished. I think I finished like 3 or 4 of them last stream. Tonight, I don't know what we'll do. You know, eventually, I actually have to do the story of the game. Did you know that Skyrim has a main story? I haven't played it in like 30 hours, but maybe we should actually check it out. Who knows? We'll see tonight, but it should be a chill time no matter what. Now, the main focus, all right? The main focus of this week, coming up, is going to be Elden Ring. The night streams will be a mix of chill content, including Skyrim, Horizon Forbidden West, and Classic Street Fighter. Okay? And we'll talk about that right now. So tomorrow, Thursday, Elden Ring and Horizon Forbidden West, story progression. Friday, Elden Ring and Street Fighter. Saturday, Elden Ring and either Horizon or Skyrim. Sunday, Elden Ring and either Horizon or Skyrim. Okay? And like I said, Monday, I plan on being here, but I may not. It all depends on my wife's schedule. We'll see. If I'm here, then it'll be Elden Ring and something else. Okay? Now you may say, wait a minute, Phil. What about the new releases this week? Oh, new releases this week, I guess. New releases. All right. In a nutshell, I knew February was going to be a month that was going to be incredibly challenging being a variety-style content creator, because I knew there were so many games coming out in a short period of time. There was no way I was going to be able to cover them all. I had to pick and choose what I wanted to play. I very well knew that some of them were going to end up being better than others, and those would be the games that I focused on, and that I would have to focus on them in order to get through them, because not only was there so many games in February, there was a ridiculous amount of insanely lengthy games releasing in February. So we all knew this was coming. I built everyone up to it. I explained it in advance. I said this is what's going to happen, and still here we are halfway into March, and people are on a daily basis asking me, why are you not playing new releases? When is the new releases? And I'm like, oh, it's almost as if I never existed at all. You know? Okay, here's the deal. Let's talk about it. Last week was WWE 2K22. No, I didn't play it. Why? Because number one, I'm not an avid fan of wrestling anymore. I haven't followed it in a very long time, so to be honest, the hype wasn't really there for me. Not to say that I'm not interested in the game, I am, but it's not like it would have been many years ago, and I'm like ultra hyped to play the new WWE game. Number two, the game literally is just a wrestling simulator. There's no major plot elements. There's no, oh, you have to play it at launch. In fact, in reality, waiting to play WWE is a better idea, because that gives people more time to make community creation content, which means if I wanted to do something like fantasy sim matches, which is what I was known for playing this game over the years, there'd be more content to use, you see? So why get WWE, all right? Why? Why buy it? Why play it at launch when it means that's going to take away from the stuff I'm already doing, and there's zero benefit to doing so, you know? Wait a month or two, more content will be in the game. I'll probably be done with the lengthy games I'm playing right now. It just makes sense, okay? So that's number one. This week, Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy comes out. Yes, later this week. I'm not playing it. Why? 2 reasons. Number one, I played the beta last year and I was not impressed. I thought the gameplay was okay. It was a variation of Neo combined with some Final Fantasy elements such as using magic and elemental combat for like taking advantage of like weaknesses of the enemies and stuff, which was kind of unique. It kind of felt like a Final Fantasy spin on on this kind of style of gameplay. But the moment that I got to the boss, the game fell apart. It's a really bad knockoff of Dark Souls / Neo. It feels like a bad knockoff of Dark Souls / Neo. And, you know, in addition to that, let's be honest here. The game looks like crap. It looks like it's 2 generations outdated. It does. It looks like a high-end PS3 game almost. Or like a PS3 game that was remastered for PS4. That's what the game looks like. Not to say that graphics are everything. They're absolutely not. But the game also doesn't really have much about it that really people are talking about or interested in. At most, people are like, it's like a B movie. Like, the dialogue is cheesy, the plot's really bad. It's so bad it's good. As you play it, you laugh the hell at the game because it's so stupid. But at the same time, people are like, oh, you can kind of get hooked, like a cheesy B movie you want to keep playing to see how bad it's going to get. Should I really be buying and playing that game? You know, the cheesy knockoff of Neo and FromSoft games, when I'm playing the far superior FromSoft game, and I'm only about, get this, 1/3 into it. I've been playing Elden Ring for 44 hours. Admittedly, some of that was grinding on bosses that I was under-leveled for, so even if you take another 5 hours out of there, okay, 39 hours I've been playing Elden Ring. I'm only 1/3 into the game. Do you really think I should be buying cheap knockoffs of FromSoft games and playing them right now? You know, this would be like, oh, Bloodborne 2 came out, but instead of focusing on that, I'm playing Lords of the Fallen 2. You know, like, what am I doing? I'm an idiot. It's that simple. So, no, I'm really not interested in Strangers of Paradise. If this were a different time of year and there was nothing else going on, yeah, maybe I would actually play it. But same thing that I said with many games. You know, there was Martha is Dead, a horror game last month that I skipped. WWE. Now, Strangers of Paradise. These are games that any other time of the year they were released, I probably would have been playing them and focused on them. There's just too much going on right now. Elden Ring is definitely the priority. It's the game that's standing above all others right now. And it's such an insanely long game. No exaggeration. I've been playing Elden Ring now for 2.5 weeks. I could be playing it for another month as the mainstream game. It's so lengthy, all right? And also, you got to keep in mind that basically coming up, there are new games I'm going to play. I'm definitely playing Ghostwire Tokyo. Ghostwire Tokyo is an incredibly unique game. I've never really seen a game like this before. That game, I actually feel I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't cover it at launch because it actually seems so unique, okay? I would say within another week to 2 weeks, we're going to beat Horizon Forbidden West. And when we do, a perfect game to kind of slip in there and take over for it is the Kirby in the Forgotten Land, I think it's called, game coming out at the end of the month as well. So, definitely, there's new content coming out shortly, you see? So, it's not like there aren't new games coming that I'm going to play. It's just that I'm waiting for the more unique and interesting ones that would make sense. Why would I play a WWE game that has no reason to be played right now? Literally, it's better if I wait. And why would I play Strangers of Paradise, a knockoff of Neo and or FromSoft games, when I'm playing the superior and arguably best ever FromSoft game? You see? It wouldn't make much sense. Okay? Okay. So, all that being said, I hope this makes sense to everyone. Now, admittedly, I know what's going to happen is there's going to be people who are going to be upset. There's going to be people who are like, man, Phil, I'm tired of Elden Ring. I'm sorry. Really, that's all I can say. I'm sorry. This game is one of the longest I've ever tackled of this style of game for sure. Usually a game that's going to be this lengthy is a JRPG or a game like, for example, Fallout New Vegas, where we could play it over an extended amount of months because it's not a new release. It's not a big deal if I stretch it out. With Elden Ring, it's the opposite. The longer I wait to play through Elden Ring, the less pertinent it will be. People already are way ahead of me and are now anticipating me getting certain milestones in the game. Like some people are anticipating this particular boss coming up, which I don't know if I'll hit today or not. It's kind of funny because people are completely spoiling the game, which I told them not to, but they're doing it anyway. They're like, oh, there's this particular boss in Caelid everyone wants to see you fight because it's tough. Okay, great. But I didn't even start exploring Caelid yet. What makes you think I'm going to skip the entire region of the game just to run straight to this boss today? Are you stupid? Yes. People who like that, I mean, let's be honest. They're basically expecting some unrealistic thing to happen on stream today just for their own personal gratification. It's probably not going to happen, okay? Maybe it will. Maybe by dumb luck, me not knowing what I'm doing, it will happen. But I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to turbo through and skip shit in the game to satisfy a small group of my audience who's very demanding and already has spoiled the game, okay? So, that being said, it's, you know, I'm excited for Elden Ring, for more of it and focusing on it. And it's so lengthy, right? So lengthy that I really feel like I have to focus on this game. And I know there's people who are upset about that. They're like, man, I liked it when Phil was more of a variety content creator. And every day he was alternating, right? Because my intention originally was I was going to alternate between Elden Ring and Horizon, and then people told me they didn't like Horizon. It's boring. Stop playing it as the main stream because it's not good enough to hold a main stream. So I stopped and I put that on the late stream. I've done a couple main streams of Skyrim, okay? And they did do well, by the way. The Skyrim stream does seem to do well as a daytime stream. But as long as I'm not getting burnt out, okay, I'm going to keep Elden Ring on the main stream, all right? Now, once I do get burnt out, which admittedly I think I will. I think after playing it maybe 3-4 days straight, I might want to break from it. Then we'll flip the streams and we'll have it as Skyrim will be the main gameplay stream, and I'll do Elden Ring as the late stream that day, okay? So let's see what happens in regards to progress this week. But again, I apologize. It just seems to me that in this regard, there's not much that can be done. It's an insanely lengthy game. It's the longest game of this type we've ever seen. It has to be tackled in this manner, or else I'll never make enough progress for it to even matter. So, all that being said, thanks for being here. Thanks for understanding. Thanks for chilling with me for all the stuff that's going to be coming up. There will be new release content. Absolutely there will be. In a little over a week, we're going to have double new releases that'll be on here. But, you know, for the next week or so, basically got to be focusing on what I'm doing, making progress in Elden Ring, and or having the other games balanced, okay? Cool. Jasper's being silly today. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us now partake in a segment that many people wait for all week long. I know actually there are people, okay? They literally wait until this moment and they watch this segment only of the PreStream podcast, and then they actually don't watch any more of my content. Because this segment is the most important thing I do all week. It's just exciting, it's different, and it is the future of content creation. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Phil's Day Off. A little anticlimactic. All right, so let's talk about my day off yesterday. So yesterday, I had my first day off in a week. I had streamed 7 straight days, and finally I had a day off. And I didn't have any real money to do anything besides the essentials that I needed to do on that day. My wife as well was kind of broke at this point. We had both, paid bills and stuff recently. So it's like, all right, well, what are we going to do? Well, we'll have a more relaxing day at home. So we did, which was nice. We basically kind of just chilled at home and had some nice relaxing time together. I went out to do the usual errands. And what are the usual errands? Grocery shopping, pet supplies, odds and ends that, sometimes my wife will order something, wants me to pick it up from a store so that she doesn't have to pay for shipping. Stuff like that, getting stuff for the household stuff, yada, yada, yada. So anyway, outside of, the essentials, there really was no other time or money to do anything. So I was doing that, and let me tell you guys something, all right? We just 4 days ago ended our requirement that in the state of Washington, you have to wear a mask. It just ended. For many of you, you might be listening to that and be saying, what? I haven't worn a mask in a year. Some of you might be saying, I never wore a mask. And some of you might be saying, well, where I lived, it was a lot more strict, and so that kind of makes sense. Maybe our restrictions just ended, But 4 days ago, yeah, it took that long. It actually took that long for our state to remove this requirement that you have to wear a mask everywhere. By the way, they also just removed the requirement you don't have to show proof of vaccination anymore to go into a business. Actually, for the longest time, it was you must prove that you're fully vaccinated in order to enter like an indoor restaurant, outdoor eating, it didn't matter, but indoor eating, bars, certain venues, gatherings, things like that. You had to prove this, okay? So, finally, they removed these restrictions. And you know me, I don't talk about politics that much. I haven't talked about COVID that much recently. I know that many of you come to my streams to kind of escape reality. You don't come here to hear about, oh, woe is me, this is happening in the world, that's happening in the world. We all hear enough about that. We're inundated with it by the daily news, right? And so you come here to kind of chill. You want to interact with me. You want to have some fun with games. You aren't into hearing every little aspect of all the drama that's going on in the world, right? And I hear you. I totally hear you in that regard too. So, why am I bringing this up? Because honestly, this was the biggest change and shocking thing for me in many months. We only had, no exaggeration, 2 weeks last year where the COVID numbers had dropped here enough in Washington that our governor decided, oh, it's good enough that we can take our masks off. It lasted 2 weeks, and then the COVID numbers shot up again because of the Omicron variant becoming prominent, and he demanded everyone put their masks back on. All right, I'm not going to sit here and hate on anyone in particular, but one thing that I definitely don't like about the United States, the way it's run, is that every single state, that we live in, which is, a little area to live in. I don't even know what do you say? How do you even qualify what's a state? I don't know. How do they figure out what the state borders are? I have no fucking idea. But every state is run completely differently by its own state government. Even though we do have a federal government that basically gives oversight to big picture kind of problems and issues, each state is allowed to handle things like COVID completely by itself and completely differently. All right? Some states in the United States basically said, we're not shutting down businesses, we're not masking up, we're not forcing vaccinations, we're doing absolutely nothing to combat the problem at all. Just be safe by yourself, and if you get sick and die, sorry. I'm not kidding. Some states were literally like that. You're on your own. Figure it out. Other states were kind of the absolutely complete polar opposite, like Washington. We were the first state to lock down. We were the first state to enforce masks. We were enforcing the vaccination thing. We were the slowest to reopen out of all the states that had shutdowns. Okay? We were one of the slowest to reopen in the whole country because we were like so protective and conservative, and I say not conservative, politically, but conservative of how to handle this thing. Our governor took it completely opposite, the way that everyone else not everyone else, but the way that other states handled it. Okay, and then there were several levels of in between. All right, some states had restrictions. I got hair in my mouth. Ugh. Some states had restrictions, and then they removed the restrictions and never went back. Some states had the restrictions, removed them, brought them back, removed them, and eased out of them. Okay? So that's what's weird about this is, think about it this way, how crazy this is. You live in this state, everything's shut down. You drive over the border to your neighboring state, everything's open and fine. No one wears masks. So let me get this straight. Complete lockdown versus nothing at all. How does that stop COVID exactly? Right? When everyone is doing it differently and you have no consensus on how to handle it, it's chaos. In some states, COVID's running rampant, spreading. People are going all over the place doing whatever they want, and everyone's getting sick, and the hospitals are triple capacity, and everyone, is infected. And then in the other state, completely the opposite. Everything's locked down and everything. So, it just, to me, looking at this whole thing big picture, okay? Unless we were all going to agree how to handle it together in the United States, how is any strategy ever going to be effective? Right? Seriously. Because did they ever shut down the state borders? No. You could at any point drive from state to state and there was absolutely nothing stopping you. So literally you could be in a state where no one cares, is doing nothing about COVID prevention. Get sick with COVID and drive into the next state and infect everyone there and no one would even know the wiser. You might not even know because you might be one of the carriers that has no symptoms. Right? So unless we were all going to sit here and actually do it together and say, here's what we agree on together collectively as what we need to do to combat this thing, no strategy would ever be effective, right? None. How, it doesn't make any sense at all. So for me, like, I look at how our state handled it, and I'm like, I don't think we handled it very well, but then I look at other states, and I'm like, well, I don't think they handled it very well either. I don't know if there was a happy medium somewhere, but certainly I don't think that shutting down all the businesses and masking up completely for as long as we did was very effective, especially because we still had high infection rates, we still had numbers, our hospitals were still overburdened. So if anything, it's like, it would have been worse. Okay, maybe that's something you can say. And yes, I completely agree with the whole masking up deal. I did mask up the entire time that I was told to, and I never griped about it. I was right here on these streams. I told you guys, if you care about other people, mask up. Because there was a point when this thing was getting so prevalent and it was actually spreading so fast and it was killing so many people that it had to be more about the greater good than anything else. We actually talked about this a few pre-streams ago where someone asked me, realistically, do you think that Star Trek could ever happen? Because in the plot of Star Trek, it's basically technology has advanced so far that humankind has no more wants or needs. We have enough money, enough food, enough technology, enough resources that no one needs anything. And so now we can focus towards space exploration because we've conquered all the challenges on Earth. Okay? To which I responded, no, we will never get to that point. Because if anything is proven, COVID has shown that humankind is not caring about the greater good. There aren't enough people out there who care about their fellow neighbor. All they care about is themselves. Oh, well, my personal freedoms are going to get impacted by this. I mean, yeah, we might save a few million lives, but I can't go to fucking Red Lobster? You expect me, let me get this straight, to wear a mask when I am in line at Walmart? Well, fuck you. I'm an American and I do whatever I want. Jeez, that'll really show them. Okay? So, that being said, this whole thing has been a shit show in the United States. I know many of you are not Americans, and you live outside this country, and your country's probably handled it differently. And I'm sure many of you are very opinionated on how well your country did or didn't handle it. Personally, I think that my country handled it incredibly poorly. I don't think there's a single state that did it right, because everyone was kind of flying by the seat of their own pants. No one had guidance from the federal government on really what to do. And because of that, it was all just a bunch of bickering, a bunch of bitching, and everyone just guessing how to handle it. And I don't think it was really handled well by anyone. I am at least happy that here in Washington State, people handled it, I think, a lot more maturely than other places. Were there assholes who absolutely refused to wear a mask and things like that? Yes. At the same time, the people here were a lot more open to making life changes to help others, which was a good thing, probably because this is an incredibly liberal state where most people are Democrats, and they do lean more towards that kind of way of thinking. Personally, I'm not a Democrat nor a Republican, just so everyone knows. I don't lean either way, actually. It depends on the issue, really. I have independent thoughts on every issue, pretty much. But what I'm really happy about is that my parents, who live in Connecticut, never got it. Thank God. You know, and I'm in contact with them every week. I'm worried about them. Both of them are older and have pre-existing conditions that if they were to catch COVID, they likely would pass away. They probably would not be able to survive it without intense amount of medical care. And so I'm very happy that they stayed healthy throughout this whole thing. Not to say that it's over, because it's not, and they're still being very careful. And of course, they're fully vaccinated, but you never know what's going to happen. I was pretty lucky in that regard. I was, because Connecticut was pretty bad at first. The spread of COVID was terrible there, and it got better over time, like a lot of different things. But man, seriously, it was like a serious bullet dodge, because this could have been horrible. And I'm happy at least that my family was not really negatively affected by this. What I would like to say to all my viewers out there is, first of all, we're not completely through this thing. All right, we're not. Definitely not. There's always the risk there could be another surge, there could be another strain, or there could just be a whole other virus that creeps up. I hope that you were safe. I hope that, you weren't too negatively affected. I know so many people had family members who got sick, who passed away. It's a really messed up situation. A lot of times in life, we all feel like we're protected. Like, oh, I'm in this weird sense of safety. When I'm at home, I'm in this protective bubble, and nothing can ever get to me, And sadly, I think what happened with COVID was we all kind of realized this is not the case. That we maybe get this unrealistic air of protection and certainty and safeness that's not real. That at any moment, something crazy can happen and affect all of us. And we trust our government and we trust authority figures to handle these things in a respectable and responsible manner. And a lot of the times, they know less than we do. A lot of the times, they make knee-jerk reaction decisions. They do stupid things based off of complete nonsensical bullshit. Our governor here in Washington State said that he was acting off the numbers. Every decision I make is based on the science and the numbers. And then people would actually ask him for the science and the numbers to justify what he would be saying, and he wouldn't provide it. So you could, so you could say it, but unless you're actually going to say or prove what you're saying, a lot of the times it's just felt like our governor was copying other liberal states around here. Like he would copy whatever Oregon or California was doing, and he would do it right after they announced it. For example, our governor was saying, I don't want to remove the mask mandate. Our numbers aren't good enough. And then the moment California and Oregon announced they were lifting their mask mandates, he announced that we were doing the same thing here. He's just I go along with everyone else kind of a deal. Rather than being a leader, he's a follower. So anyway, I certainly hope, I certainly hope that all of you are safe, that all of you are healthy, and that hopefully most, if not all of you, were not negatively affected by this thing. But, that's life, and I think what we all have to do now is kind of accept this new reality that at any moment, something crazy could happen that you never expected, and it could throw us all for a loop. Like I said, I felt like growing up, when I was a kid, I always felt like, oh, none of that could ever happen to me. And now I'm an adult, and this happens, like, everyone's affected. It's like, damn, dude. Pretty nuts, okay? So, as you can tell, no, I did not actually, get too political about this because really I don't have the answers. I'm just a freaking gamer, dude. I'm just like you guys. I'm an average dude. I play games. I have fun. I don't know what the hell the answer to this situation was, right? Certainly I think that things were botched and mishandled by the American government, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I know a better way to handle it too, okay? So that being said, that was a major thing for me. Yesterday's my day off and I'm going out. And it's interestingly enough, a lot of people are still wearing masks, even though they're not required to. Did you ever... I gotta close the window now because the landscapers are out there. Good Lord. Forgot it was Wednesday. Hold on. Hold on one second. Dagnabbit. Dagnabbit, Rassafrassin. Rasa, hover. It's felt like Yosemite Sam yelling at these guys. So you ever, before COVID happened, did you ever watch like a television show about an Asian culture or documentary like about Hong Kong or about Japan? And you ever notice that some people were wearing face masks? And wasn't it weird? Like for me, I would watch that. I'd be like, wow, that was weird. In their culture, a lot of people just wear a mask out in public. That feels so odd to me. Here, that's never been done. And it's just so odd. And now, here I am in America, the mask mandate's over, and literally, like, half the people out there are still wearing a mask. And I'm like, gee, I wonder what that's about, I know what it's about now is that people are just, number one, they're used to it, right? For how long? For how long did people wear these masks and they're just so used to wearing them now? You know what I'm saying? That it's become a commonplace thing and they don't want to change what they've been doing for so long. Maybe they feel safer doing it. I'm not sure. But I guess to them, this is now part of their life for 2 years. So why are they going to change it? In a lot of ways, I can kind of see the point. Let's say, for example, for 2 years, you wore this mask and you didn't get COVID, right? Even if there's no scientific data to directly prove that the fact that people were wearing the masks were the reason why COVID didn't affect certain people. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. Who knows? I'm not a scientist. I know some people originally were saying the masks were working. Then later on they said, oh, they don't. I don't fucking know. Who cares, right? I think some people just feel this air of safety. Like wearing the mask makes them feel safer. And or maybe in some cases it did actually prevent people from transmitting the disease. I don't know. I'm not a scientist or a doctor. But all I'm saying is like these people already are into wearing the mask and they're used to it. So why change the habit if they stay safe, right? I wouldn't fault a single person on this planet for wanting to wear a mask outside for the rest of their freaking lives. I wouldn't. Seriously, I would not. And I'm not going to hate on anyone for wanting to do that. Personally, I felt absolutely refreshed yesterday not wearing the mask. Just like I talked to you guys about this. Well, actually, I tweeted about it last year, I think. when we had the 2 weeks when we didn't have to wear the mask, okay? And then we had to go back to wearing the mask. How refreshing it felt. It's like, wow, I feel like I'm breathing the full clean air for the first time in a long time. When I speak, people can understand what I'm saying. Like, you go to the store, and usually when you're checking out, a lot of these stores have their rewards programs. And they say, oh, what's your phone number? And I said my number, and I could hear myself saying it, and the person actually heard me saying it the first time. I was like, oh, well, that's definitely something that I forgot about. Actually enunciating and having my voice project when I talk. People can hear what I'm saying. I'm not used to this. It's been 2 years since we've had this, right? Kind of weird. So it was definitely refreshing. Like, seriously, a lot of times, especially hotter days. Now, we're definitely in the cold side right now. But hotter days, wearing a mask. Sometimes you can build it up with the condensation from your own breath. And it makes the mask feel very hot and musky and makes it hard to breathe. And, you know, not having that, actually breathing in the nice, cool, fresh air without a filter over it was very refreshing and felt actually quite liberating to me. It did. It felt nice. I was like, wow, for the first time in 2 years, you can leave the house and actually feel semi-normal. Now, of course, there's a few things and takeaways from this whole COVID situation that I wish people would actually learn from. For example, the whole 6-foot rule. Stay the fuck away from me? Yeah, everyone should stay the fuck away from everyone. Really. When you're out and about, stop getting close to people. Stop getting in people's face. Stop coughing on, sneezing on fucking people. Stop being disgusting. Wash your fucking hands. Use hand sanitizer. If everyone just did these things regularly anyway, not only would COVID not be as big of a deal, but everything else. I'll give you a perfect example here. In the 2 years since COVID existed, guess how many times I've gotten a cold? 0. Guess how many times I usually would get a cold during the year? Probably about twice. It was pretty much inescapable, especially when you have someone in your household like my wife who works retail and has to interact with people on a daily basis. Someone's going to get it. Someone's going to bring it home. You're going to get sick. There's nothing you can do about it. But since COVID and everyone doing the right things, you know, it prevented a lot of other illnesses from transmitting. They said it was the record lowest year for the flu ever because people were already doing the right things to stop the spread of the flu. You see? So if people would just fucking do the right fucking things, you wouldn't get sick. You know? But they're not, you know, people, oh, well, no more mask, right? No more masks, no more, you know, limitations. All the businesses are open for business. Go right back to doing how we were doing things before. No. If you're a smart person, you learn and you get better at things and you improve your lifestyle so that you can stay healthy and safe. I'm not saying don't have fun. I'm not saying cancel every single massive group event. I'm saying do the right things and procedures to keep yourself healthy like you had, as if your life fucking depended on it. Act like that from now on. Okay? What is wrong with that? I don't understand it. I don't understand what, you know, making some life changes to improve your life and staying healthy. What's so wrong with, oh, you impeded my freedoms. No, use your fucking brain. Instead of just being a fucking drooling idiot who yells about everything. You tell me what to do. Yeah, because we don't want you to die, stupid. Obviously, you're not smart enough to fucking do it yourself. So we're trying to help you. How dumb can you be to not understand that simply staying a little bit further away from the person in front of you, not coughing and spitting everywhere, washing your fucking hands every once in a while instead of being a disgusting freak. Yes, you can actually save yourself and others around you. It's like common sense, but that's the problem. A lot of Americans don't fucking have common sense. Why do you think this was such a big deal to begin with? I'm offending 70% of the country. If I'm actually offending anyone, those people need to look in the mirror at themselves and say, why am I being offended by common sense comments? Yeah, seriously. You need to look in the mirror and be like, why am I offended by Phil stating you should do things that are common sense? Stay away from other people when you're out. Don't spread infection. Wash your hands. How is this offensive? If you find it offensive, maybe you've brainwashed yourself into thinking really stupid shit. And you need to stop. Really. Because, man, I've absolutely loved in the last 2 years how Everywhere I go is not jam-packed wall to wall with fucking people like sardines in a fucking sardine can, and how I haven't gotten sick. It's been great, right? So why can't we keep that up? Seriously. I don't know. I really don't. I'm not saying close all the businesses. I'm not saying absolutely enforce that everyone should wear a mask. I think that those were the extreme measures that were taken to try to curtail the crazy spread of COVID for a while. And in a lot of cases, they were probably warranted for a while. But certainly, we can make some minor improvements to our lifestyles to not be disgusting, disease-carrying freaks who just don't care about anything, right? So, and this is funny because it's absolutely hilarious whenever you talk about this topic. You get idiots who either think you're one extreme or the other. I'm not. If you haven't noticed, I don't agree with complete one side, Democrats who want to say, shut down everything, lock everything down, force vaccines on everyone and do all of that. And I also don't agree with the Republicans who are like, leave everything open, no one get vaccinated, no mask, live life as usual, herd mentality. I think that they're both wrong. In life, you have to at one point realize that there is no black and white. There isn't. There's just a lot of gray, a whole lot of gray. And you got to find the happy medium to solve issues like this. And what I saw in the United States was a lot of people, including our government, did not want to have a happy medium. It was all my way or the highway. Well, guess what? That's not what solves problems. That just creates more. What we had was a stalemate, and the stalemate caused a lot of people to get hurt. And that's unfortunate, But it was so refreshing yesterday to finally go out and say, all right, at least to some extent, this thing is over. It's not done. It could surge up again. We already saw this last year. We took the masks off and put them back on within 2 weeks. But at least going out and saying, I can breathe. Wow, people are actually moving around and it's kind of semi-normal. And there were people with masks on. I wasn't freaked out about it. You want to wear a mask? By all means, do it. Again, do what makes you happy and do what makes you feel safe. Who cares? What does it hurt to wear a mask? Nothing. Zero negative impact. Possible positive impact. Okay? If you have stinky armpits, all right? And if you think that taping pillows under your arms stops that, then do it. Who's it hurting to have walk around with pillows under your stinky armpits? I'm just making a joke. But anyway, it was different, for sure. Going out and doing all my errands and having the mask off for the couple of hours that I was out running errands. For the rest of the day, it wasn't a big deal. Stayed home with Kat and Jasper. Watched one person play some Horizon. Watched another person play some Elden Ring. And I was actually kind of explaining some of the mechanics of Elden Ring to Kat. Because remember, she had played it for only a couple hours and didn't really like it. Because it was so confusing and not explanatory. So I was basically kind of explaining to her stuff. And I think maybe long term, I don't know if she would anytime soon, but maybe long term she might go back to the game and give it a shot. Now that she's seen someone take on the earlier parts of the game and she's kind of understanding what you're supposed to do. I don't know. I would like if she would give it a shot. Then again, the game is very challenging. I don't know how far she would get because it is so challenging, It was actually funny because she actually said this to me yesterday. She's like, with as hard as this game is going to get from what people are saying, how many of these people are the 12 million people, because this is a news story today, Elden Ring sold 12 million copies. 12 million copies in 2 weeks. That's Call of Duty-like numbers. That's nuts. Okay? So, with that many people, all right, buying the game within 2 weeks, realistically, how many people will beat it? It's a good question. Because if you're just doing Limgrave, you go South Limgrave, East Limgrave, the castle. That's like intro-level Dark Souls. That's like, okay, you're learning the basics. You're fighting semi-difficult bosses to easy bosses. Godric, admittedly, it's not very tough, but it's hilarious because I'm still seeing people today posting up on social media saying things such as, oh, I finally beat Godric. What a great accomplishment. Like, what are you talking about? That's like the first boss. It's 2 weeks into the game. You beat the first boss and you're posting up like you're proud about it. These people, I feel, have no idea what they're in for with this game. They just don't. They have no concept of what's coming or how long the game is or how hard it's going to get. And so I'm curious, even though these people who bought the game casually, became part of the casual hype crowd for this game, are they all gonna, in another week or two, hit a wall and be like, oh shit, what did I do? You know, I was really enjoying myself until the game got insane and I don't want to play it anymore, you know? Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see moving forward. But 12 million copies sold in 2 weeks. Interestingly enough, only 1 million sold in Japan. That means I can't do math. 11 million copies were sold outside of the home country where this game was developed. These games, FromSoft games, are actually now far more popular outside of Japan. Originally, a lot of people were of the impression that only the Japanese liked these super hard games. No, it's become widespread, mainstream popular. And now everyone is playing it and challenging themselves. But again, I'm curious who will actually beat the game or who's going to hit that wall and never beat it. I wonder what the statistic will be in like another month, right? Kind of like the statistic for Horizon Forbidden West, where only 13% of the people who bought it finished it, because most people who bought it then bought Elden Ring and are playing that instead, and they never went back to Horizon. A sad statistic, right? So, anyway, yeah, we watched some Elden Ring, we watched some Horizon, we had some food, we had a pretty good time. Not a big deal yesterday for a day off. It was more just the shock that finally, after 2 years, the restrictions are lifted and you can kind of be normal again to some extent. Although, again, I wish people would not just go back to fully on being normal and instead adopt things in their lives that would stop them and others from getting sick, but I digress. You know, common sense, right? Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's Phil's day off. Not a very exciting segment today. Definitely a more political one. And I hope that no one was offended by what I said, because I don't agree with maybe what you believe. Here's the deal. As I've been a content creator over the last 13 and a half years now, okay, I went from being a very close-minded, obstinate, stubborn, unwilling to walk a mile in your shoes kind of person, my way or the highway kind of a deal, to completely the opposite. Now, when situations happen in life, I actually go out of my way to try to understand other perspectives, okay? So that way, you know, understanding the way that people think and what they're going through in their lives, and trying to see from that perspective has actually opened my eyes to a lot of things that I never really understood or knew. I feel like I've grown as a person, trying to understand other people who don't think the same as me. And what I can tell you is, what I've definitely learned to do is agree to disagree, all right? I can sit here and do this segment on my podcast, and hopefully, even though there's a lot of people out there that don't agree with me or people that I don't agree with, it means that we could still be friends and we could still move on positively and we could still have a good time with games together. Because I have completely shied away from talking about a topic like this for a long time. Because if I do, you're afraid you're going to offend someone who doesn't agree with you. And why in life does things have to be black and white? Can't you agree to say, okay, in this case, I don't agree with you on this topic, but I'm still going to respect you as a person, right? Just because someone doesn't agree with you on a topic doesn't mean they're your enemy. Really, it doesn't mean that. I think a lot of people are of that. If you're not with me, you're against me. Where, on what planet is that truthful? That's idiotic. That's like such immature, like low-level thinking. That's not big brain thinking. That's like way down here, I'm really stupid kind of thinking. And the more that I realize that in my life, and the more that I open my mind to other belief systems and other, other things, I basically improve my whole mindset on life. And I get it, like I don't think I have answers to these issues, but man, a lot of the times when I see people, oh my God, this is so bad, this person's so wrong, and this and that, and I'm like, yeah, but did you even think for 2 minutes about the other situation? I mean, this is your situation. This is your line of thinking because you're here. What about if you were over there? They don't want to do that. They just want to think from their own perspective. Like I said, these people who don't want to do anything to help anyone around them, they're just self-centered. It's like, just for once, think about how much better life would be if maybe everyone tried to help each other instead of everyone hated each other and just tried to protect their own. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Anyway, I digress. Now I got it off my chest and we can move on and talk about other shit. And not have to talk about it anymore. Thank God. Okay. Outside of that, folks, I hope you'll chill with me today in Elden Ring. I hope you're ready for a fun stream. I know I am. Again, we'll see where it takes us. I definitely want to beat this Crystal Cavern. And then, likely, maybe I'll look for some of these optional bosses I've been notified about. And then we'll explore Caelid. We'll see where the day takes us today. It should be a good day. Okay? A good day of fun. Now that we're out of Liurnia and we're doing new stuff in Elden Ring, it should be a good one. Good week. It's actually a perfect time to do this because finishing up Liurnia and then taking the day off and now I'm coming back. Oh, new week, new stuff, right? It kind of feels like a refreshing reset on what we were doing, and I'm excited for that, okay? So there you go. The only thing that I will say, okay? The only thing that I will say, if you like my content, please support it in whatever way you can, whether that means liking this live stream if you're sitting and watching it right now, whether that means liking this as an on-demand video if you're enjoying it right now, whether that means leaving a comment. Hey, you disagree with anything I said on this podcast? Leave a comment and tell me I'm an asshole. Go ahead. Welcome. Go ahead. Trust me, a lot of people feel that in the back of their heads. Now it's time to verbalize that in the comment section. How does that sound? Let's see. Of course, you can become a channel member. You can do a super chat, a super sticker, or you can tip me. All these things are much appreciated. All these things help the channel tremendously, and I appreciate any support that you can lend. As you know, we have rewards in place for tip levels. You know, gunner glasses at $50, pick a hat at $100, pick a vest at $150, etc., etc., etc. You know the deal if you've been around, okay? If you're not someone who's been around and you're a newcomer, welcome. I strongly recommend you subscribe to... That was a tongue twister. I strongly recommend you subscribe to the channel. When you subscribe to DSPGaming, not only will you get access to talk in the stream chat within 24 hours of subbing, but also you'll be notified in the feed of all the stuff going on. Every day I post up my schedule on the community tab so you know what's going on for the rest of the week. Plus, you'll get information on when all the videos and streams are going live. Okay? There you go. All right, I think it's time for shout-outs. Interestingly enough, Kevin Bernstein was saying he can't super chat, and then 2 people super chatted. So, Kevin, if you cannot super chat, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know why. Because other people are super chatting without issue. Now, a couple days ago, someone else was reporting that this was happening to them. In fact, they gave me a screen capture and everything of the error. It sounds like a YouTube side error. I don't know if it's a payment issue. I don't know if it's a problem with your account or YouTube in general recoded something and fucked it up. But I can't fix super chats. So what I recommend is if it's still an ongoing issue, you might want to contact YouTube yourself. Or if you really want to consider contributing to the stream in another method, like, you know, pledging to my Patreon, tipping, you know, all those things are possible as well, and I appreciate those, okay? Okay. Let's do some shout-outs. So Ryan Clark was the first super chatter talking about the war on Ukraine. I have one thing to say about that. No! We're not doing that. I already said I'm not a political commentator. I certainly don't know any better than anyone else, and I'm not commenting on that. We're not. The entire world is currently inundated with non-stop news about it. There's plenty of other places you can go for discourse on that. This ain't here. Or it ain't here, okay? Kane Gallagher did a super chat saying Jesse Ventura 2024. Well, there you go. Jesse Ventura, of course, the former governor of... what state was it? Now I can't remember. I can't actually remember what state he was the governor of. But he was a pro wrestler turned actor and then became a governor. But from what I'm to understand, he went off and he did a lot of conspiracy theorist shows, right? Conspiracy theories and stuff like that. Made a lot of money doing that, and I don't know what he's been doing recently. Was it Minnesota? People were saying it was Minnesota. Okay. Okay, let's do some shout-outs for tips. Our first tipper of today is Odd Vidya, who tipped $10 and says, would you like Elden Ring better if it had level scaling like Fallout and Skyrim? You know, I don't think so. What does that mean for those who don't know what level scaling is? So, to give you some example here, when you're playing Elden Ring, okay, you could be in an area where everything seems like, okay, it's challenging, but at least when I hit an enemy, I'm doing good damage, and it seems like as long as I play decently, I can survive. Then you very well may ride for 5 minutes in one direction, the color of the sky changes, every enemy is different, and when you try to hit them, you do 0 damage, and the enemy one-shots you. oops, I've accidentally wandered into an area that I'm too early in. There's no way I can, stand a chance against this stuff. Let me get out of here and go back to the area where I can be effective. That is the lack of level scaling. It means that every enemy in the game has a set level. It never changes. All right? And depending on your own leveling process and your loadout and stuff, it could affect how well you do in a certain area of the game. There are other games that completely do it differently. There's games where no matter where you go, all right, the area scales to you. Okay? For example, as Odd Video just brought it up, Fallout and Skyrim. There's really no area in Skyrim you can go to where everything is over leveled and one-shot you. There are enemies that will one-shot you. Very powerful magicians and the like. But in general, you can kind of wander wherever you want to wander. You can do whatever you want to do, and you never feel like I'm outclassed or out-leveled by this area as long as you play it smart or safe. You can pretty much succeed in whatever you're doing. Now, there's positives and negatives to that. The positive is, hey, the whole game's open to me at any time. I could go around, do whatever I want, and explore any content that I want in any order. And it means that there's just an unprecedented amount of stuff to do without any kind of qualifications or limitations, right? But what could definitely happen in a case like that, especially in a case like Fallout or Skyrim with other big open worlds, you don't know what to do. You don't know what's meaningful and what's not. You don't know, is this side quest worth doing, or is it just going to be a waste of my time because I get nothing good at the end of it? Maybe if that side quest was so hard you couldn't do it, you would realize, oh, I'll come back later and then it'll be more meaningful to me, right? When you have completely unhindered exploration and progression, everything just ends up kind of feeling samey. You know what I mean? Like, if you're playing a game and you go to an area, oh, I can't do anything here, I'll come back later. Then you level up, you come back later, now you can hang. It feels like an accomplishment. It feels like, oh, okay, I scaled that mountain. Get it? When you have a game where everything scales to you, then there's no mountains. They're all plateaus. Everything's just keep walking straight forward. Not walk up the challenge, just keep walking straight. A lot of people like that. A lot of people just want to keep walking straight forward and having constant progression. And maybe they're not looking for big, daunting challenges or mountains to climb. But some people are. You see? It really depends individually, I guess, on your own personal preferences of what you're looking for in a game. I know for a fact that there are probably some people who would like Elden Ring better if everything did scale to your level and you could just do whatever you want. And then there are others who are like, no, the whole point of FromSoft is the challenge, right? And I don't want to play this game and have it be easy mode or hand me all my victories. I want to actually, tough it out and earn these victories. Hey, excuse me, in my own Elden Ring playthrough, the first enemy I encounter was outside the tutorial, was the Tree Sentinel. And I was like, you know what? Even though obviously this guy is way above my level, I'm supposed to be going out and leveling up and getting more health, doing more damage, getting better weapons. Fuck it, I want to fight him. And I challenged myself to beat him. Did I have to? No, but I did. And I got a weapon. And that weapon is the Golden Halberd, which I looked at and I was like, okay, obviously the stats required to equip this thing and use it effectively are way outside of what I have right now. But now I have an outline of what I'm looking to do. That halberd was great when he was using it. I would like to use it too. Here's what I'm going to do. Level my strength, level my faith. And then when I had that goal in sight, right, the end goal, I realized maybe it would be good. It absolutely was. But the time that I could use the Golden Halberd, oh my god, that thing is crazy good. It was kicking ass. It's launching enemies into space. It's doing insane holy damage. It's just really, really good. And I'm like, man, I'm glad that originally I was challenged by that first enemy. And it gave me an idea that maybe this is a good idea to build with. What if the first thing in Elden Ring you walk out, it's the Tree Sentinel, and he's a pushover enemy? So who cares what weapon he drops, right? It probably sucks. The guy was so easy, who gives a fuck, right? So, you see? So yeah, I can see both sides of it. Definitely, in a game like Elden Ring, if you get to a point where you feel like you hit the wall, and like, now what do? I can't seem to make progress anywhere. Everything's too tough. That can be disheartening. That happened for a lot of people in previous FromSoft games, where you get to a point like, I don't know what to do. I can't beat this one boss, or I can't get past this one area. And obviously this needs to happen for me to make more progress in the game. That could definitely crush you, especially if you invested a lot of time into a game and now you hit the wall. If everything scaled to you, you probably wouldn't have those kind of challenges in front of you. So, I don't know. What is the right balance of challenge, okay, versus progress? I guess that's really Odd Video what it comes down to. Challenge versus progress. Is it more important to just always be making interesting new progress? Or is it important to have a level of challenge that it feels like you're overcoming something and you get a feeling of accomplishment when you overcome it? Maybe. One way or the other is actually the extremes are not the way to go. Maybe you got to find a happy medium between, right? I don't know. But I'm not a game developer. But certainly, I think a game where you just walk around and there's zero challenge, right? Could end up being pretty boring. On the flip side, a game where everything is destroying you instantly and everything's an insane, hard to overcome obstacle can be pretty frustrating. So I can see both sides of it, which we were just talking about how I get older. I can see both sides of an argument, you see? Okay. Judante tipped me $5. Thank you, Judante. And he says, shout out to Clyde Baxter, 672, and Barrel Shroud. Would you play Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy if instead it had a classic Final Fantasy gameplay than the one it currently has? Well, look at it this way. If it didn't play like Neo or a FromSoft game, then at least if I started playing it now, I could be like, okay, it's good for variety purposes because it's so different from the other games I'm playing that it actually adds something to my rotation of streams. If I started playing it right now, like, okay, it feels like a watered-down version of Neo or FromSoft games that aren't as good. Why am I playing that when I'm playing the better game? You know? It doesn't make sense to do so. So, yeah, I actually do feel that if Strangers of Paradise was not that style of gameplay, that actually I'd be more interested in playing it. And I hate to say it, I think in general the public would be more interested in playing it. One of the problems is you can't come out with this kind of game only a couple weeks after the big one, right? Imagine if God of War Ragnarok comes out, okay? And 2 weeks later, they decide to release Dante's Inferno 2. You know? It's like, wow, you really don't understand the concept of timing, do you? Like, you have to release these games when the timing makes sense. If they had waited 6 months after Elden Ring, anyone who bought it and wanted to beat it has probably beaten it. Most people have done multiple runs who really like the game. Now you're looking for something different to do because you've seen the entire the entire offering of what Elden Ring had, right? Now release Strangers of Paradise. Now have the game that's going to give you a little bit more of that gameplay style that maybe you're craving because you already beat Elden Ring and there's nothing else like it right now, right? Not 2 weeks after. Come on. Come on. How does common sense elude these people who are in positions of power? These are people who determine the fate of a company. They have, people under them, hundreds, if not thousands of employees who depend on their important business decisions to pan out. How can you be so fucking stupid to release a game that's inferior to the game that just released 2 weeks ago of the same style and genre? Oh! Rob on Wheels took me $1.50 and he says, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm British. If every state in America governs themselves, but for few exceptions, surely the president has no choice but to be a follower. Like I said, the way the government works is kind of weird and confusing at times. Each of our states dictates how things happen. I'll give you an example. When I lived in Connecticut, there was a state income tax. What that meant is no matter who lived there or what your job was, if you made money, you had to pay taxes to the state just for making money. When I moved to Washington, that's not the case. The vast majority of people who live in Washington don't pay state income tax, but they have what's called a business and occupation tax. If you operate your own business in the state of Washington, you then pay a certain amount of taxes per the income that you make. But if you're not, if you're just a standard employee working at a 9-to-5 job, you don't have to pay any state taxes. How? How is that possible? Well, in Connecticut, they use that money to run the state. Here in Washington, we have other ways. For example, our sales tax. When you buy something, the sales tax is higher. They have incredibly high luxury taxes here in the state. As you know, here in Washington, weed is legal. Okay, you can smoke weed. Guess what? The tax on weed is really high. No pun intended. So when you buy weed, you spend a lot of money to get this luxury product, but the state makes a lot of revenue on the taxes on it. So that's where they're making their money, so they don't have to give you an income tax. You see what I'm saying? So that's actually how state to state things are handled in the United States. Now, there's also federal government. The federal government is the big picture government that handle certain things for us on a big picture. For example, excuse me. For example, the national defense. We have an army, we have a navy, we have an air force, and those are all controlled by the federal government. And the federal government funds those via taxes that are federal income taxes that everyone has to pay if they live in the United States. And those taxes also do many other things for us, supposedly. And that's the thing, like a lot of people debate, well, how much really do our taxes help us or don't help us? Are they really appropriating that money properly, or are they squandering it? And of course, it's hilarious to follow what our government does when you hear every day a news story about, oh, this person in the government argued that this person and this person is doing the wrong. We need to do this bill. We need to do that bill. But it's like, yeah, but what did you actually do today besides argue about what you're supposed to do? Did you do anything today? No, we just argued all day. That's the American government. So that being said, that being said, it's weird because sometimes these things can get into conflict. Yeah. Like the federal government can say one thing, but the states are like, no, we don't agree with that. We're going to do it a different way. Now the feds can get involved, but a lot of the times they won't. I'll give you an example. Federally, marijuana or weed is illegal. That means that every single person in the state of Washington right now who goes to a weed dispensary and buys weed is technically breaking a federal law. But because our state has made it legal in the state, the feds don't interfere with that. So even though, yes, at any point the government could say, we just decided we want to crack down, they don't. You see? It's kind of like YouTube and fair use and all that, right? Anyone could argue that at a big picture level, perhaps playthroughs and let's plays are legal. But companies allow them. No one cracks down on it, right? It's kind of the same deal. So yeah, it's very weird, Rob, how things are handled here. Now you say, is our president a follower? Well, the president has to abide by the laws of the land. But the president could also try to change the laws of the land. We've seen many presidential, what are they called? Oh, God, I forget their technical word, but he can write an edict down or whatever, and now it kind of gets put into law, but not really, because it's not like a law, or he can suggest things to the Congress or the House of Representatives for them to try to start up bills to be made into law. He also has a say when it comes to what becomes law and what doesn't, because we have three branches of government, right? The legislative, the judicial, and the presidential branch, the executive branch. And so to have a law be passed, it has to go through our House of Representatives, our Congress, but then it goes to the president for a final sign-off, and he can veto that law. So he has a lot of clout in what he does. Is he following laws and stuff? Yes. The president is not free to just go around and do what he wants. He lives in a state. He has to abide by the laws of the state. He lives in a federal government. He has to abide by the laws of the federal government, too. But he doesn't have absolute power. You know what I'm saying? He's not a king. Like a king, oh, fuck it. I'll just decree anything and everything becomes law, and I'm perfectly above any reproach or above any kind of criticism because I'm the king, right? That's not what we have for sure. It's very different than that. Man, it gets confusing. It does. I know. People are like, we're still on this. I know. It's so confusing. I can't even, like, in a nutshell, summarize how our government works. It's so dumb. States do whatever they want, but then the feds sometimes interject, but then sometimes they don't. That's why COVID was such a mess, because no one had any guidance on exactly what to do. Every state handled it differently. The feds didn't really get involved, but then they tried to get involved with the vaccine. Very confusing. Atlas Telebon to the $1.50 says, I want to make sure if someone has asked you today what you would want to see in Street Fighter 6. There you go. I know, because totally people don't ask that question every day ad nauseum. I know Atlas Telebon is just joking asking that question. Because he's not super serious about that, okay? And I want to also shout out Rob on Wheels because he re-upped his membership as a super supporter today, and he says, I said, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. I said, hey, oh, what's going on? Oh yeah, I said, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. I said, hey, I want to go where no. All right, I don't know. I got real carried away there, but that's what he said in his re-upping. So thank you, Rob, for the support. I appreciate that. Okay, we got just a couple minutes left. Does anyone have any questions or anything they'd like answered or anything to talk about before we jump back into Elden Ring full force today with both feet moving forward? No backward movement, only forward. As I say that, we're probably going to backtrack to fight optional bosses. A little hypocritical, but all right. Anyway, I think you get the gist of what I'm saying. Carlos says, want to say hi. It's good to be back. Welcome back, Carlos. Guts, what's up? Good to see ya. Jade says, you know, I'm not really a psychic. I had no idea Spinosaurus was actually in the game. He's talking about Horizon. He says, I was just asking. Yeah, the craziest thing. So I'm playing Horizon the other night. And Jade goes, are there any Spinosauruses in the game? Because he likes them. And I'm like, I don't know. And then there's a Spinosaurus within a minute on screen. We're like, how the fuck? Like, you want to talk about timing. Good timing. That was like the best time I've ever seen. And it was completely by chance. Sometimes it happens in life though, right? Well, I go back and finish Ninja Gaiden Black. I have no idea. If people want it, maybe someday. Would I be down to play PUBG Fortnite again? No. Don't care about those games. Would I try the game Triangle Strategy? I heard some stuff about it, but there's no way I'm playing it right now. No, I'm not playing Tiny Tina's Wonderland. I don't care about that. I didn't even like Borderlands 3, so why the hell would I play that? Chris B says, have you been getting better gear from Quest and Horizon? I heard some of the best armor in the game comes from side quests near the end. I did get a good bow, I believe. A good electric bow. And I bought armor. I didn't get good armor from a side quest. I purchased it, right? So, yeah. Hold on. I gotta open the window now. The landscapers are gone. Thank goodness. They finished up over here. Of course, they might be back. Yeah, they might be back, but for now they're gone. So that's good. Whew. Okay. Atlas Telemon did another $1.50 tip. He says, I would like to see you use more summons. Yeah, I've done like none, right? If you remember, I started unlocking, they're called ashes in this game. And I started unlocking these ash summons early on in the game. And I think the first time I even tried it was on Murgit, because I wanted to see how they would distract Murgit. Was it Murgit? Or was it, it was Murgit. But what happened was we were at the tail end of a stream. And I knew I probably wasn't going to be able to beat Murgit that stream. So I said, all right, we're at the end of the stream. Let's just see what these summons can do. And man, the summons distracted him. And I was able to walk up and get a ton of extra damage on him because he was not paying any attention to me. Now, I didn't beat him, but I'm not even kidding. Like, I summoned them twice. Twice. And people shat on me. Oh, he's cheating. He's using the summons. I can't believe he's using the summons. What a cheap ass. He's not going to bleed legit like other Souls players are doing. He's just going to summon. And I'm like, all I wanted to do is see what the game mechanic was. Like, I wasn't committing to using it full time in the game. I just wanted to see what it did. It's in the game. You might want to try it, right? Right? But apparently, to a lot of people who are these ridiculous get good players, if you do something that makes the game any level of easier for you, you're cheating and you're not doing it the way that they demand. Okay? So, if I remember, I think I only used them like that fight. And then, by the way, when I played again the next stream, I beat Murgit, whatever the fuck his name is. I beat him legit without using the summons. I just, boop, beat him pretty much right off the bat, no problem. And then later on when I was fighting Godric, same thing. I think I was trying summons at the end of the Godric fight. And then I said, all right, I'll beat him legit. And I beat him legit with the sword. It bled him to death. It was pretty cool the way he died because I wasn't expecting him to die and he did. I was like, oh, I beat him unexpectedly. Excuse me. From what I'm to understand, all right, without spoilers because I haven't really been spoiled, some people are saying coming up, there will be some boss fights that it's kind of expected you use the summons. And if you don't use the summons, you're actually shooting yourself in the foot and making the game way harder than it was intended to be because there are fights designed around having summons in the fight, you see? So I guess we'll see what happens as we move forward. Admittedly, I want to try to beat the bosses without the summons because I feel like that's the traditional FromSoft gameplay style, you know? Go in there and beat the shit out of it. against all odds. And quite frankly, I don't think that I've really run into a wall. I mean, the bosses that have beaten me a bunch were the Tree Sentinel, because it was the first enemy in the game, over level. The Dragon, the early Dragon, because again, early game, over leveled for what you're doing. And then the Crucible Knight. And the Crucible Knight you couldn't even summon, right? So those are the three that were like dauntingly challenging to me. Since then, I honestly, you know, don't feel that there has been any strong level of difficulty where I've needed to summon. Maybe there will be coming forward, but today, if we are going to harder areas and harder stuff, maybe we'll come to that. And I agree with you. Like, I'm finding so many of these ashes, Atlas, and I've never tried them, right? Like, remember, I was getting all these, oh, you got the Viking ash, and you got this ash, and I've never used it. Not once. I guess we'll see. And we'll go from there. I'm not saying that I want to use them. Like I said, what I think I will do is I will always try to legitimately beat a boss without the summons for a bit. If I run into a wall and maybe I do need to use the summons for whatever reason, fuck it. It's part of the game. And by the way, I will reiterate this again. I have watched both low-level and pro-level players play Elden Ring. They have all agreed. Use whatever means necessary in your first run to beat the game. That's the name of the game. Once you've beaten the game and you understand the game mechanics better, if you want to go back and challenge yourself and say, I don't want to use summons, I don't want to use this build because it's overpowered, I want to use this, then you can do that. But the first run is always supposed to be full immersion, exploration, trying everything, and any way you can win is acceptable in your first run of a From Software game. Later runs, if you're trying to prove that you're good at the game and you want to say, oh, this is a challenge run, that's different. Yeah, no one should be like, oh, I beat Elden Ring challenge run, but by the way, every boss I used to summon. You see? But if you're just playing it for yourself for the first time, it's all acceptable. All right? I like I said, I've seen some of the top level fucking Dark Souls players say this. Say this is fully acceptable. Don't let people tell you how to play this game. And by the way, hilariously, I've seen some of these players who are supposed to be pro level dying easily to bosses that I steamrolled. On the flip side, I've seen them completely dominating bosses that kicked my ass. So it's interesting to watch that perspective and say, so let me get this straight. They're playing the game at their own pace. They're playing it however they want. They're enjoying themselves. When they die, no one gives them shit about dying. It's acceptable because it's a FromSoft game. It's part of the experience that you're just going to die a bunch. And yes, you can laugh at your misfortune when you make a mistake or whatever. When you die, you laugh at yourself and you move on, right? Hilariously, the most popular and biggest FromSoft / Soulsborne players and streamers don't have any of the ridiculous limitations of the Get Good community. It's almost as if that stupid-ass Get Good community created themselves outside of the realm of the mainstream popular people who play the games. And then they enforce or interject themselves into the conversation later. That's so stupid. My eyes have really been opened with this game because I always thought that's what it was all about. And now I'm seeing that's completely the opposite. Almost no one has these weird conformities and limitations to what they're supposed to be doing in the game. People come and complain on my stream, it's because they're assholes. It really is. It's because they're fucking assholes. They're demanding shit on me that's unrealistic because they're assholes who want to form a more challenging and or more entertaining playthrough for their own purposes so they can laugh at my failures. Most people don't give a fuck about them. They play the game for what it is. You know, right now, I'm seeing people approach the game completely differently. There's one guy who stumbled upon a weapon that's really good, and he's just kind of stumbling through the game, almost like my Black Knight Halberd run in Dark Souls 1. It's kind of the same deal for him, and he's doing incredibly well because of the weapon he just found and lucked into. And another guy is doing like a pure strength build and is using all power weapons, like power swords, great swords and shit, and he's hammering everything. Like, I'm not kidding. He's kind of doing a run similar to mine, where he's just smashing everything he comes against. Is his audience saying your playthrough's invalid because you're beating shit one-shotted? No! They like it because they're not assholes. They're not demanding get good mentality idiots who want this guy to fail constantly. They want to see him make progress and enjoy the game. You see the difference? So I'm not entertaining any of that bullshit. I'm not. Anyone who comes in here and complains that this playthrough's boring because Phil's beating stuff is banned. I'm not even listening to you. You're out for good, and you're never coming back. I am absolutely not letting myself be overcome with this toxic mentality when it comes to FromSoft games. It's over. Those days are done. My eyes have been opened that you guys are idiots who want to fucking enforce those kinds of ridiculous mindsets and constraints on someone who's just playing the game for the first time and trying to have fun with it. If I want to summon an Ash dude, I will. I might not. I'll challenge myself for as much as I feel fun, but if I'm running against the wall, I'm going to summon. I don't care. Yes, I will use weapons that are powerful. That's the point of the being in the fucking game, you idiot. Not anyone wants to fight off the hordes of enemies with a fucking stick. All right. G Dizzy tipped me $10. Said, how's it going, Phil? It's going pretty good, G Dizzy. I would say it's going pretty good. I'm ready for another very fun Elden Ring stream here today. So, okay, guys. That is it for the PreStream podcast. Thank you for listening. I hope you had a good time. Hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope that you will continue to watch the content. If you enjoyed this PreStream podcast, please give it a like on YouTube. Please leave a comment. There's certainly a lot of debatable stuff that's talked about on this podcast. So please, let's get that discourse going. But in the meantime, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. It's on the games for me now. Let's do it. Cool.